All right. Welcome to the Grapevine Wellness Show. I'm your host, Jolyn Armstrong. Our mission on this show is to bring our viewers meaningful conversations that offer hope, support, and practical tools for navigating life's challenges, while also highlighting the incredible people that we have in our world who are doing deeply meaningful work. Today's guest is my good friend and sup teacher, Bruce Lee. Bruce's story is such an inspiration to me. When a sudden health crisis shattered his life, he was forced to confront everything that he thought he knew about himself. And what followed was an unexpected journey of breaking, wandering, healing, and ultimately rising to a transformation that revealed his infinite potential. I love it. I say this all the time, experiences in our lives, especially the most difficult and potentially traumatic ones, they change us. It's just a fact. We don't get to not change through these experiences, but we do get to decide what that change looks like. And that's exactly what my friend Bruce did by drawing from 8 Japanese Zen principles to guide him through his change. Ultimately, he wrote a book, this book that is both a deeply personal memoir and a practical guide for anyone seeking clarity, courage, and purpose. Right. So, in a business setting, I would call a book of this size a fast read, right? Something that you can maybe get through in 1 or 2 sittings, but that hasn't been my experience with this book, actually. Its brevity is deep and thought-provoking and deserves the time that it takes to think through rather than just read through. So I'll just give it that little caveat right from the beginning. Spend some time with this book once you get it. Through raw and honest storytelling and actionable reflection, Bruce, my friend, guides readers through the stages of transformation. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Bruce, welcome to the show. It's such an honor.
Jolyn, thank you for having me. And what a nice introduction. I was just
Yeah.
smiling, listening. It's very nice of you to say those kind words.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to this conversation, and you and I have talked about your story and what brought you here, and ultimately us being able to meet too in this area. And I am eager to share your story with my listeners who may not know who you are yet. So I'm excited for this. Yeah.
Me too. It's a pleasure to be here. And this is my first podcast ever. So,
Oh,
this is all new for me. So
what an
thank you, thank you,
honor.
thank you.
Yeah, what an honor. Many more to come, I'm sure. I'm sure of that. So, well, let's take our listeners and viewers way back to the beginning. Like prior to, I mentioned in your introduction that there was a health crisis, but let's talk about Bruce prior to that. Who were you? What did your life look like back then?
Yeah, so I've been in corporate America for over 20 years. And, I worked in several different industries. Really, I like to say I cut my teeth in sales in the wine and spirits industry, and slowly worked my way up, managed and excuse me, my dog, sorry.
Oh,
Um, and then ultimately, that position I had with a distributor ended. And so I was in a dedicated division um, that they were divesting half of their portfolio to another company. And um, my experience in corporate America is, from sales to management, marketing, other different roles where I'm leading teams. And so this one particular role was ending because of our dedicated division. And I knew that there wasn't any other role within the company. This is back in Washington, D.C. I was working. Even within the Maryland market, there weren't any opportunities. My boss said, "We love you. We want to keep you, Bruce, but there's nothing, at your level that we can, maybe have an opportunity to take on another role." And so I didn't want to be demoted. I didn't want to, kind of go back to a role that I had done before. I always want to grow, right?
Right.
And yeah, so I started putting some feelers out, and that's when I got the opportunity um, to move into a different industry, the medical device industry. And although it was going to be back in a sales role, it was a different industry that was going to help me to expand my growth. And I looked at it as an opportunity and even, making more money, which is never a bad thing.
Right.
So,
I'll take that.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm. So you were corporate America, sales and working like many of us. Yeah. Aha.
yeah. Used to the vacations, the bonuses,
Yep.
the incentives, all the things that, most systematically taking care of the people. And I never really thought that I would go out on my own, start my own business. This is not something that I was even thinking about back
Right.
then.
Yeah. So you were there and you're climbing the ladder and you're doing the things and moving forward in life and then you get hit. Let's talk about
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that health crisis that I mentioned earlier. Tell us what happened.
So I started with Boston Scientific right as COVID was happening. I was training up in Marlborough, Mass at headquarters, and we were studying for tests, the whole group, international folks all over the world, as well as folks all over the US. And we had to go home immediately, a couple days shy of finishing the training, but there were more training that I was expected to travel across the country in major markets, spend a few weeks there, all over for the next few months. And so I had to do all of that online. And
Mhm.
then I finally, once hospitals were open to my division, I was in the endoscopy division where we dealt with butts and guts. Um, they were, we worked with gastroenterologists, so it was more kind of that 9 to 5 schedule where, not everything was emergent. And so when I was finally allowed back in or into the hospitals, um, that's where, you know, I learned face to face all the people I was
Yeah.
meeting on Zoom and, learning the lay of the land in the labs because we would be right next to the doctors helping them use their devices, talk about, the patient's procedure. And we were really a part of the team, which was what I loved about that job. I thought this was a job, Jolyn, that I was going to ride off into the sunset. This was it for me. And, all that changed when I got the COVID vaccine.
Mm.
And I drove 2.5 hours out of my way to go get it. We had a colleague down in Virginia that told us that they had fully vaccinated their staff, and now they were opening it up to vendors, reps, everybody that wasn't an employee of the hospital. And after the second shot, that's when everything started to unravel for me.
Wow. So first shot went okay. Second shot, oh no, something's up.
Yeah. So
Oh,
a couple of days after that second shot, it woke me up. I thought I was having a heart attack. My
oh,
heart was pounding out of my chest. I thought I was going to die in the moment. And I shook my wife awake, Roxanne, and I said, we need to get to the ER right now. And she wanted to call 911. I said, I might be dead before an ambulance gets here. I said, if you're not ready in 30 seconds, I'll drive myself to the hospital.
mm.
And so she got her robe on and drove me to the hospital. And, back then, she couldn't come in with me. And yeah, that was really the beginning of my health crisis.
Oh my gosh, terrifying. Ha. And so just the beginning. Heart attack? Are we looking at what did that look like a little bit longer term after that day?
Yeah, so the first question I asked the ER doctor was, could this be myocarditis or pericarditis, which
Mhm.
is inflammation of your heart or inflammation of your heart lining. Now, I wasn't in the cardiology division, but I knew enough about what to ask, and I was not shy
Mhm.
in talking to doctors because that's part of my job. We would read clinical journal articles to kind of argue our points to they use something called the challenger method, where literally we're challenging our doctors by asking very specific questions to lead them down a path to
Yeah, help you.
agree with
Yeah.
whatever it is that we're saying, whatever it is that we're selling.
Mhm.
Um, but ultimately, that one situation led to many other health issues, and I didn't work for 4 months. They were great. The company was great. They said just go to your doctor's appointments, check back in with us every couple of weeks just to, see how you're doing. And it was a scary time in my life. I didn't think I had much time. I thought this was like it was just like every it seemed like every week or two I had some other issue going on in my body, and every specialist was like, we don't know
We
what's
don't
wrong with
know.
you.
Yeah. It was such a terrifying time for all, even those of us who weren't suffering like you, like hearing of these things that were happening and truly not knowing what is going on here. How do we help? What do we do? And there you are, not able to work, not sure what a future looks like, if you have a future at all. Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I said to my wife, if I'm gonna die,
Yeah,
I don't want to die working.
there we are. Yeah.
And that's when the talk of getting in an RV and living like I'm dying
Yeah,
um, came about.
there we are.
And that conversation was back in August of 2021,
Hmm.
and we left Maryland January of 2022 to do just that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you said, okay, I'm not going to focus on, we look at these, the eight principles, the breaking. This is where you were, right? I can't say that
Yeah.
the Japanese word
Kintsugi.
kintsugi. There we are, the breaking,
Yeah.
where we look at the gold in the cracks, right? We're like, okay,
Yep.
here's what we're gonna do with. I'm not gonna die working. I'm gonna do something here. And now the journey starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. We traveled all over, Jolyn.
man,
We
yeah. Huh.
It was awesome to be able to see all these different places, but I can tell you, we had a fifth wheel RV,
Hmm.
and when we were shopping for RVs, I didn't even know what a fifth wheel was. So my
Right?
wife and I were tent campers, and it would open up a whole new world for us to be able to travel with our dogs. And
Hmm.
yeah, we saw a lot of national parks, a lot of different areas of the country we had dreamed about vacationing to.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it really, that RV lifestyle is definitely a lifestyle.
It's
And
different.
we
It's
let
different from, yeah.
yeah, we met a lot of weekend warriors, that just, had, the weekend to go travel, and then we met some people who were like full timers.
Hmm.
And we were kind of like, well, let's go for about a year or so is what I always said.
Yeah.
And yeah, but we were on the go all the time. Every few days, we were packing up and getting on the road and, unpacking. And, with a 42-foot fifth wheel, we had to make sure that um, we had a spot for the night because we're so big, you can't just roll in
Yeah.
expecting that there's room for, a big fifth wheel. So yeah, we had to plan that out
Oh, you got
in
good at parking
advance.
that thing, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, definitely. We hired a driving instructor. He
Good.
spent 2 full days with us. And so, safety is always my number one concern.
Mhm.
And yeah, there were some moments that were scary, but
Oof.
there's a dog that ran out onto the highway in Arizona. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah, there's, a lot of things happen on the road. We had a stress fracture in one of our slide outs.
Mm.
So we even had to backtrack and we went back to the manufacturer. And I told them because we were stuck in Austin, Texas for a month,
Oh my
and that screwed up the whole trip. And I pretty much yelled at them because they had recommended this RV repair shop that was using our RV, and I'm sure many others, as a parts store.
gosh. Stop it.
Yes,
Ah,
no lie.
wow, that's
I
terrible.
cussed them out on a Saturday morning, and Roxanne, my wife, on the drive over to go pick the RV up, she was like, her stomach, she was all like not feeling well. I'm like, what's wrong? And she was like, I just don't want you to yell at him,
Oh,
because she knew
Roxanne.
I was pissed.
Yeah.
And so we were literally picking our RV back up because they were taking so long. They weren't repairing it correctly. We thought they told us a week or two, and now it's a month gone by. We're Airbnb-ing, this house in Austin. And so it was just
Mm.
taking our finances. It was going to shorten our trip.
Sure.
And I yelled at the manufacturer and I said, I will be on your lot on Tuesday. This is a Friday.
Hmm.
And they were like, wait, this upcoming Tuesday? I was like, yeah. And I will stay there until my RV is fixed. And they thought I was joking. I was like, I will see you on Tuesday. And we showed up on Tuesday. They had our RV fixed in 2 days.
Nice. Nice.
I
Did they
waited a
leave you
month for
there?
this
Yeah,
at
a month
somewhere
and two
else.
days. Right.
Yeah. So, I know how to press the issue. That's
Yeah.
not a problem. I
Yeah.
thought I was dying still. So
Ugh.
I don't have time. I don't have time for this
Yeah.
BS.
So you're
And
60. Yeah.
I yelled at the sales manager, the
Mhm.
parts manager at that shop that took forever because when we went to go look at the RV, one of the guys said, "Oh, just take it off of one of the other," because there was like a screw loose or missing for our steps to fold down, and he said, "Just take it off of one of the other ones." And I said, "Excuse me?" And
Oh,
then as he's saying that, I noticed this long gash in the side of our RV
no.
that
Mm,
was not there when I dropped it off. And I said, what else did you do to my RV?
yeah.
And I walked right back in. I looked at Roxanne as she was looking at me, and I was like, can I like
Do you
lose my
mind?
shit on him? And she was like, yes, please.
Oh,
And I screamed at the manager. He tried to shake my hand. Yeah, in fact, he kind of held me off. He was like, I'm on the phone. I'm like, get your ass out here right now.
yeah.
This is a full room of people trying to buy an RV. And I said, I don't care. I
Hmm.
do not care.
Well, they
Anyway,
were
I
unethical,
digress.
unethical people there for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Just, oh my goodness.
yeah.
Well, what made you choose specifically road travel, like this kind of path over any other? Like you're processing, and this is perhaps the end of your life. You still think that it may not be much longer for you, and this is your choice.
So
Yeah.
I read this article,
Uh-huh.
some online source, and I said, they were talking about remote workers. They were traveling to all these national parks while they're working and,
Mhm.
seeing the sights. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'd love to do that.
Mhm.
And that way we could bring our dogs, Georgie and Chauncey, with us
Yeah.
and all be together, right? Like that was very important because that's my family. We don't have kids.
Yeah.
We have nieces, nephews, godson, and family all back in Maryland. But I said, like I said, if I'm gonna go, like I want to kind of one last hurrah.
Yeah.
and I didn't
Yeah, what
care
was
about
it?
the money. Like I can't take it with me.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we did it all. We went all over the country. We even took an Alaskan cruise. And it
Nice.
was when we got back from the cruise, 10 days, 3 days on the cruise ship, 3 days in Denali. And this was the longest stretch of time that we were not in the RV, not packing it up, not driving on the road, not setting up camp.
Yeah.
And it was like a vacation from the RV. And it was amazing. We even had my brother-in-law, his wife, my mother-in-law, we had some friends from Maryland, flew out to Vancouver, British Columbia, and we all went on this cruise together and spent some time together, and it
Mm.
was amazing. And that's when, after we got back, I had a heart-to-heart with Roxanne, and I said, I'm over this. Can we just stop
Mm.
somewhere and be somewhere for like a few weeks, 2, 3 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's when we decided to not do the rest of the trip. We had probably another 6 to 8 months
Mm.
of travel.
Okay.
And this was about 7 months in. And so instead of we were heading from Washington State over to Glacier National Park. We were going to go to Yellowstone, Grand Teton, the Mighty Five in Utah, finish up at the Grand Canyon. And we said we'd figure it out, maybe go into Baja, California. And, but yeah,
But no.
once we got back from that cruise, I said, let's just chill out somewhere. And so uh, we had this campground membership called Thousand Trails, and they had a campground in South Lake Tahoe. And I'm familiar with this area because my brother and I lived out here for a winter 25 years ago as snowboard bums. And the saying that has stuck in my head for decades was you come for the winters, but stay for the summers. And I had never
Ah,
seen a summer or experienced a summer in Lake Tahoe. And so we drove down to South Lake and pulled in and we stayed there for 3 weeks. It was, oh,
ah,
amazing,
always,
amazing.
always amazing in South Lake Tahoe, anywhere around Lake Tahoe, right? Yeah. So this is the
Hmm.
journey. This is the Zen principle, the journey. You say the Japanese word.
Tabiji, Tabiji.
Tabiji. Yeah. At
Yeah.
at what point did you know that, well, I'm not going back to my old life at all? Like, where at in this journey did that kind of happen? Maybe the beginning. I don't know.
Honestly, when we left,
When you
we
left, it
had
was the
made the
beginning.
decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because I resigned from my job. Um,
Yeah. Left
I
it
didn't
behind.
have like that far into the future envisioning what my life was going to be about because I said, let's live for today.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not promised tomorrow, right?
And
And I
truly,
still
yeah, you,
have that,
yeah. Go ahead.
I still have that philosophy in living for today. Now, it's a little different now because it's been, 5 years from that experience of thinking I'm having a heart attack and dying. But even throughout the journey, I
Mhm.
didn't know really what my body was going to do. It was still very much like maybe on the mend, but I didn't know. No one's still, and even now, long-term effects. I just, there was all this doubt and unknown, and I still wasn't right, even when we were in the RV. And so my headspace was all over still.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because I'm very energetic and I didn't have the energy even though we were driving and doing all the things. I was still kind of getting worn down fairly easily. So yeah, it was a process. I think my body probably about a year and a half at least until I was like, there's nothing new. There was nothing new while I experienced on the road. It was just very low energy, still brain fog, and some of the other things. And I still have never gotten COVID.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. Thank goodness for the shot. I mean,
I say now that this didn't happen to me. it happened for me because having a near-death experience,
Mhm.
it changes you. It
Mhm.
changes the way you experience life, what you appreciate. I don't waste a day. I definitely don't waste a day. And that has stayed with me, throughout, because it's
Absolutely.
been years now.
That's one of my bookmarks in your book is that where that line is. Page 25, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're moving into the healing, the next Zen principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
Shinrin Yoku.
Shinrin Yoku, the healing. What is it about Tahoe specifically? Tell me what happened here.
Well,
Hmm.
playing in the lake, swimming in the lake, hiking, you
Mhm.
know, and we didn't do like really hard physical hikes. It was very cool. But smells of pine trees, that's something San actually fall deeply in love with. And, it was just beautiful to your eyes, to the smells, to the feeling in my soul. I was reconnected with this magical place from half a lifetime ago. And I also reconnected with some friends who I knew way back when, and they were still here. They had never left. And so we took a trip from South Lake to North Lake, really up to Truckee, and reconnected. And really, to my old bar manager that I'd worked for, he was the one that even said to my brother and me, "You guys should come out to Lake Tahoe." And my response was, "Where the hell is Lake Tahoe?" Because we were a couple East Coast boys, never been out here before. And I said, "What?" He knew we liked to snowboard, and I said, "What? Do they get a lot of snow or something?" I
Oh my
had no
goodness, you had
idea,
no idea.
Jolyn.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
it was such a beautiful year-round place, and yeah, it's an amazing place, and I can see how that combination of the water and the forest and all of the things just it's amazing.
Yeah, so Shinrin-yoku means forest bathing, right? Like it's this term um, in Japan where doctors will prescribe you to go into the forest and relax, because the trees, the plants, all the things, they release these phytochemicals and it brings your cortisol levels down, your stress levels. And just being out in nature, brings has physical response. Your body has a physical response to being in nature. And even they've done clinical studies where those effects of being, spending a few hours or a day or a weekend in nature has lasting effects even when you're back to work, back to the city, and it stays kind of within your body for a little bit longer than just the time that you're there. And so what I knew was that my body was saying yes
Yeah.
to being here. And then when Roxanne said, "I'd love to see those mountains covered in snow," I was just like excited. Like, wait a minute, are you sure? Because they get a lot of snow here, and that could be a deal breaker. And she said no. And so that's a little while later in October of 2022, we rolled into Truckee and we experienced, gosh, one of the best winters ever. We got a
Oh,
lot of snow that year.
yes, yes. There were a lot. Yes, there was a lot of snow that year. My goodness. All right. So we're moving through the healing in this beautiful place, but there's hardship to come. Yeah. Let's talk about even after that healing. What happened then, Bruce?
Yeah, so I felt better. I felt like I was definitely on the mend. And I said to Roxanne, I said, I think I'm ready to maybe go back to work. And I was like, okay. I don't want to go back to medical devices. I really didn't want to walk back into a hospital ever again. I think I have some PTSD there that I was just like, if I can avoid it, at all costs. And so my background, in sales and management and marketing. And so I found a job. It was with another corporation. And within 5 months of working for that company, I got put on a personal improvement plan, a PIP.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'd never experienced that in my
You?
career. I'm kind of a hard charger. I don't half-ass anything. And, I said, what? Like, I thought he was joking, my boss.
Yeah.
And so, that was a shot to my ego. It was a shot to my identity. And so this is where I'm coming out of my health crisis and now going into my identity crisis. And I did a lot of introspection. And that's where I discovered this book called Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life by Bob Proctor. And that opened up a whole new world to me.
Mm. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So you said, okay, hold on. This isn't there's a new world out there. I can do something different here. Yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
grace under pressure, right?
Yeah. It was like I survived this horrible ordeal with my health.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is happening right now? Is it
Yeah.
me? Did I change? Did I, like, am I not a hard worker? Like, no, I still have that DNA in me.
Yeah.
Um, but it just was a shock to my system. And so when I discovered Bob Proctor, he was talking about the subconscious mind,
Mhm.
and it really opened up a different way of thinking. And then after listening to his book, Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life, at the end of the book, he says, just don't put this book down. Listen to it or read it again and again, because he says repetition is the key to all learning.
Yep.
And I even have in my intro to the same advice, like you said earlier in the opening, it's a book to study, not just to read it once and put it away.
That's right.
That's why I could have gone more in depth and made it longer, but I was like, no, I want people to reread it and familiarize themselves with these principles, these words, and relate it somehow into their own life, into your own life, because at the end of the day, you know, it's the introspection that I did for me
Yep.
through the PIP
Yep.
that really opened up, like, what do I truly want? What is truly important to me? And if I didn't go through that process, I probably would still be working for that company, not where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. So that hardship was important for you to kind of go through that. Zen principle is, I'm going to gammon, gammon,
Gammon, gammon.
gammon. I was so close, but I knew I'd miss
No, it's good.
the
Look,
hardship. Yeah. Yeah. And that,
yeah,
it seems like that kind of forced you into this, right? That through the book, um, that you read and reread and really, took in, we move into your purpose. Yeah.
yeah. I listened to that book 6 times.
Yeah, there we are.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that opened up this can of worms. I
Hmm.
went down the rabbit hole of all of Bob Proctor's books and all his recordings. And then his mentor, he worked for Earl Nightingale. The Nightingale Conant Corporation is a huge library of programs and recordings that he specifically wanted to work for. Bob was a millionaire at this point, and he gave it all up to go learn from Earl Nightingale. And so that it was that, along with the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, that really changed Bob's subconscious programming and all the things that he learned. And so I I tell all my clients now, I said, don't make the 30-year blunder because I've read Think and Grow Rich twice in college 30 years
Oh,
ago, over 30 years ago.
yeah.
And the one thing that I didn't do that Napoleon talks about in Think and Grow Rich is to follow these principles, these action steps that he lays out in the book. And I read it, reread it, and I was like moving on. And I never really took the action behind it. That is the most important key. Um, because that's where you get the feedback, the reinforcement, the learning, and these principles all deal with repetition, and that's what I teach in my programs today. And so it
Of
really taught me a lot. And then I went even further. All
course
the
you did.
people that I learned about, I kept going back in time to all these different authors who were saying kind of the same things. And it was all about the subconscious mind. Even back, over 100 years ago, these writers were just reinforcing all the things that Bob was talking about, Earl was talking about, Napoleon Hill, and all the rest of these authors. And I've got books all around me. I read or listen to at least 100 books a year.
Wow.
So I'm a voracious reader and listener when it comes to being very intentional about what I wanted to learn because I even stopped watching football. I'm a huge Ravens fan. Go Ravens. Um, but I was listening to these long format podcasts, hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hour podcasts, and I was at the privy of what they wanted to talk to, not what I wanted to learn. And so I stopped all that. I stopped listening to music in my car, once I understood that this is what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be very intentional about becoming the best coach I could be.
Yeah. So that started to really feel like your calling rather than just the next step. Yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
that.
This
This
is my
this
mission.
right. We're moving into purpose, the
Yeah.
ikigai. I can say that when I've taken an ikigai
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Tell us about
Very
that and
good.
how that showed up for you. Yeah.
So Bob has this business called the Proctor Gallagher Institute. He partnered with Sandy Gallagher, and Bob passed away a few years back, but the business was still very much up and alive and running through his partner Sandy Gallagher. And I discovered this program called Thinking into Results.
Mhm.
And this is where it really started to shift all the things. The book was the catalyst, but the program is what I put into action because he has all these action steps. And it really started to transform not just the way that I thought, but the way that I behave through my actions. And that's when I really started to say, okay, what do I really want? How do I want to spend my life, my time, whatever time that, I'm blessed with. And I said, I've gone through so much already through the health crisis and now, trying to figure things out what the next step is. And then that's when I started thinking about, well, maybe I can share my experience that I've lived through to help others maybe face their challenges and to help them through that. And that's how Infinite Potential Advisors got started. 2 years ago this Saturday, July 11th.
Wow. Oh, congratulations, Bruce. That's amazing. And how lucky are we that that Infinite Potential Advisors exists and that you created it through all of this. Like, and it's a gift to those who come to you. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. It takes commitment, which is
Oh,
the next
does it?
bit. Yeah, tell me, Keshin, is that how you? No.
Yeah.
Keshin,
Yeah.
the commitment. Tell us about those
Yeah.
like burning ships and moving forward and yeah.
So I was part of a networking group, and prior to me launching the business, I was, still in corporate because I got another job in software as a service sales, SaaS sales. And so they said, hey, this could be a good a way to, gain new business. And so I came out of sales training, 2 months of sales training. I come out and they cut the commission for the sales force, nationwide sales force, mind you, in half.
Oh,
And I was like, are you serious? This is the second job, second corporation I'm working for that was just not a good fit.
yeah.
And, at that time I was going through that class or thinking into results through the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And that's where wheels started to take, motion of saying, this is what I want to do. I want to help coach people. And it was the commitment of burning the ships in the harbor. I literally said it in front of the networking group. I said, I'm burning the ships in the harbor, y'all, to corporate America. I'm going out on my own and I'm going to sink or swim on these two shoulders. And, it was my statement to the world saying, you know,
Yeah.
IPA all the way.
I love
That's my
that.
little
I love that.
tagline.
I hear you say that often. And yeah, it's good. And you present with um this power and this confidence, but that had to be terrifying.
It was because I was never an entrepreneur before. I
Ah.
was going out on my own. I,
Mhm.
used my savings to embark because I wanted to go in full time, and I gave myself a long runway, to say whether or not I can do this. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, but it was just what I teach my clients. The only step you ever have to worry about is the next one.
There you go.
Don't worry about the thousand steps to where you want to go and reach. I coach people who want big goals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't worry about the thousand steps between here and there. Just worry about the next one. And
Beautiful.
then you'll learn and you'll take the next step after that. And
Hmm.
that's it.
That's what you did.
That's what I've done for the past 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, you practiced what you preach, is what that's called, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah. That's exactly right.
the commitment, Keshin, taking the next step, right? And that leads to the next Zen principle, the becoming Kaizen.
Kaizen. Yeah.
Kaizen,
This is
yeah.
actually this is actually one of uh the one of my programs. I have a business coaching program called Kaizen Coaching. I've utilized this term for this is probably the first term that I've learned, Japanese term that I learned back in my 20s,
Hmm.
because Kaizen is all about continuous improvement. Be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. So this is a principle Toyota used from this really way back when, even before it became kind of uh, a known term in the 80s
Hmm.
in America. And so it really says what every single employee in Toyota can do from the top down to the factory worker and everyone in between is how can you improve upon your role, your job. And they truly believed in that. And now Toyota's like the number one car company in the world,
Yeah,
and everyone's familiar with this term now. And it's something that I've lived by pretty much my whole working career, not just working career, but in my life. I always want to continue to grow, to really be able to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, because I'm not in competition with any other coach, with anybody else. I'm only in competition with the version of me that I was yesterday.
there you are.
And
Yeah.
and yeah, so I live by that. I truly do. I'm still living by that
Mhm.
now.
That's amazing. Is there a moment where, we're always trying to improve, but is there a moment where you notice like, hey, I've become the person that I've been working towards? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's like I like to say, you got to pause for the cause,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
because when you're, kind of talking about showman and the ascent, I equate this kind of like taking a hike up a mountain, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Take a pause for the cause, because 15, 20 minutes into your hike, just stop and look back,
Yeah.
right? Celebrate the win. It's something I call wins of the week in every session with my clients, because we're so on the go, on the go, on the go. that we don't pause to celebrate our wins. And when you reflect, take time and reflection to think about the actions that you've taken, even in a short period of time, like a week or even a day, you remember the wins. You're like, oh yeah, I did this and I did this and I learned this from that. And when you pause to do that and reflect, you can see that you've made some positive movement in your life, right? Towards a goal or whatever it is, whether it's a personal relationship or professional goal, it doesn't matter. Just take the pause for the cause and reflect and you'll see that you actually, man, I got further than I even thought.
Holy cow, looking back. Yeah. Yeah. So we're hiking up that Lake Tahoe trail of life, right? Professionally, personally, maybe both. And we've paused to take a look back where we are. But the next step of that, the ascent, showman, is that the Zen
Yeah,
word?
Shipman, good job.
Showman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the summit. What
So
does that mean?
this is really testing your limits,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because you can become a little bit better every day, but if you don't really know where you want to go, well, then the wind's gonna take you wherever life takes you.
mhm,
So having goals is extremely important. Harvard has done studies saying, people who have goals, who write them down, who are actively pursuing them, they are more than likely going to achieve them.
mhm,
So if you don't have a target of where you want to go, the wind's going to take you wherever. And it's about pushing your boundaries, pushing your limits. And this is my own personal ascent to my goals has led me to pushing my boundaries. And so I just made the reservations for the campgrounds for pushing my limits. I'm going to circumnavigate Lake Tahoe,
mhm.
72-mile trek on my stand-up paddleboard,
Oh
the
my God.
one that you are on
Yes. Yes. Yeah, for those
with all my
listening,
gear.
that's amazing. So Bruce taught me recently, Father's Day this year, 2026,
Yeah,
how to stand up paddleboard. And since then, I've gone out and gotten my own. I borrowed yours. You loaned me all of the equipment that I needed and taught me how to do that. And now I'm gonna try it on my own this weekend. So that board, ah, that's amazing. You're gonna the entire way around the lake. That's a big lake
72
for me.
miles. 72 miles to
Woo,
circumnavigate the lake. And
woo.
there's a lot of planning and preparation, a lot of training. I did last September, I did from South Lake to North Lake, the very beach that Roxanne said, I love to see those mountains covered in snow. And we decided to stay here. And I lived in Carnelian Bay when I was out here with my brother 25 years ago at Waterman's Landing. So that those 2 points last year were very important to me. And then I wanted to push my limits this year and circumnavigate the lake. And so 4 days, 3 nights, packing all my gear. This is an expedition. I'll be paddling. Really, I want to get out, start 5 a.m. in the morning, get off the water, prior to the afternoon winds because
Yep.
that was a fateful day that I learned on June 24th, 2024, where I almost died
Oof.
paddling. Got caught in the afternoon storms. I was so irresponsible. I did not have a personal flotation device. I didn't have my leash attached to my body, my ankle, and was so unprepared and so disrespectful of Mother Nature, the lake, God. I screamed out, just to God, like, don't let me die,
Mm, mm.
don't leave
Ah,
me. And a 45-minute paddle out took me 6 hours to get back.
oh
It
my
was
gosh.
brutal.
You've made it through this health crisis, battled for years, and lack of respect for the lake, lack of planning, and it could have all ended that day.
Yeah,
So,
I'm so glad it did.
yeah,
I'm lucky to be alive. I
yeah,
truly am. I
yeah.
should be dead.
That lake takes
Um,
lives every
it
year.
does every year.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it taught you an important lesson that has led you to planning of this expedition. And yeah, so you and I were at a fundraising event last year, not long after the south to north trip, and you were sore. So I hope you take care of yourself this year. Oh my goodness.
I'm
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
So I'll train this Saturday down in South Lake. My
Yeah.
training days, I just did Donner Lake on the 4th of July. That's about 8 miles. Circumnavigate that. I'll do probably 12 miles this weekend. And then every weekend, especially on the east shore, I'm going to kind of parcel it out so that I familiarize myself with the shoreline and, just get in the miles to training. But if any point nature takes over and the conditions are no good, I will
You know what to do.
head to shore and
Yeah.
not push it. I have too much respect.
There you
Yeah.
go. I appreciate that personally as your friend. Right. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce, let's talk about those who you've inspired today, those who pick up your book and want more Bruce. Let's talk about who is the person that comes to you most? How do they find you? Let's talk about that process.
Yeah. It's the person that finds me the most, or I find them
Mhm.
sometimes, is someone who is facing some sort of challenge in life that they feel so overwhelmed, they don't know where to start, um, and they don't feel like they can go to a family member or spouse or to help them kind of go through really tackling a challenge
Mhm.
because it's like you can only tell so much to friends, you can
Right?
only tell so much to the spouse.
Mhm.
And I feel like I am just like I was a member of the team in the hospital with my job with the medical device corporation. I feel like I'm a member of a support team because coaches like you, right?
Right.
Um, it's like, yeah, work with as many support staff that you can create in your life. It could be, a psychologist or psychiatrist. It could be, a life coach or personal development coach like me. It could be with a coach like you, the dealing with trauma, because
Mhm.
I don't do what you do.
Right. Right.
It's
You and I are
different.
very different in our work, and yet we could,
Yeah.
yeah, so finding someone like you when somebody's moving forward in life and needing a guide, an advisor, a teacher. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
here we are. Okay.
And my program, lift coaching, is my number one program. That's where most of the people who find me, that's where they're trying to go, is to figure out whatever the friction is in their life so that they can create momentum.
Yeah.
And it's, time management,
Mhm.
it's self-confidence, it's working on a personal relationship and professional goal because I take the 360 approach when it comes to working with a client. Because if one of those three areas you're having issues, it's going to bleed into the other areas. And
Definitely.
so it's really understanding all that's going on so that you can remove that friction, create momentum in life. And really, it's about creating the life that you want to live. And so I have these two programs, Lift Coaching. It's a 90-day program where we deal with all the things I just mentioned. And then Summit Coaching, then we really dive into your identity, the power within, the infinite potential within, because we all are given gifts
Mhm.
and really driving all the action. So identity, power, action, IPA,
There
all
we
the
are.
way.
I love it. I love it. And so if someone who's listening or viewing us online later, listening to this conversation, if it's speaking directly to them, where should they go? How can they find you? And what do they need to do to prepare to work with you? Because I imagine there's some preparation involved.
Yeah. Go to infinitepotentialadvisors.com. You'll see my website, kind of get an idea for my different programs and all the things. I would start there, and then I'd say pick up the book too, because the Zen Potential really will give you an idea of my journey and story a little bit more. I mean, it's any of these options, but if you do want to work with me in the lift coaching, I do offer a complimentary 2 hour power session, which will help you to understand how I coach. And what I would say to prepare for that is to think of a personal relationship and professional goal that you like to work on over the course of 90 or 180 days. And at the end of the day, that's really all you have to do. The power session will kind of take us to what those goals actually look like, because it's what the power session does. We'll go down that pathway of all the questions that I'll ask, and it really starts with just an idea because most of the time it's not what you initially wanted to work on. It's uncovering a lot of that within, is where I feel like I help a lot of people with to really transform their lives and create the life that they want to live.
Mm. Wow, that Bruce, a 2 hour complimentary session is incredibly generous and surprising, but also not surprising knowing you the way I know you. Yeah. And so, and I get it too, right? Let's really see if working together will work, and kind of create that roadmap before we dive in. Yeah.
Definitely. I'm not for everybody, and I'll say that. I cuss, I'm loud, I'm energetic, and
uh,
it's really being my authentic self,
yeah.
which people who gravitate towards me is because of that energy or that connection I have with some people.
Mhm.
And I've really, you know, try to draw from my own experience to help my clients to be their authentic selves too. And when that happens, when you're your authentic self, the confidence starts to flow out of you,
Mhm.
and it's really getting out of your own head because we got to release a lot of the mental clutter. That's why the time management piece of this is so important, because when you own your day, you own your life.
Yeah.
And you can't get deep into introspection about your identity until you clear a lot of this mental clutter, and then you can finally get deeper and open up into more of you. And that's where summit coaching, within the identity and the power and the action really is so transformative, because you've done the work that leads you to being open to all of that.
Ah, love it. I love it, Bruce. And that energy, man, that's what makes me love you so much. Thank you so
I
much.
love you, Jolyn. Thank you for having me on
Absolutely,
my first
absolutely.
podcast.
Fantastic. And yeah, it's an honor to have you. It's an honor to be your first podcast, and so many more and so many good things coming your way, Bruce. And I know you give so many good things to our community and those people that come to you for help. And so it's just an honor to have you and to know you. So I will put all
Um,
of I'll put all of your contact information in the show notes and everything so everyone can get in touch with you if they need to. Okay.
Thank you, Jolyn. And right back at you. I got a lot of great things to say about you. The work that you're doing, helping others, is amazing. And your heart is huge.
Oh,
And, I know for all your listeners, they already know this, but it is an honor, honor, honor for me to know you, to just be around you. I feed off of your energy too. And thank you. Thank you for just you being you. I really appreciate you.
thank you, Bruce. Oh, all right. Until next time. And Bruce, thank you so much. All right. We'll see you.
Peace.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Grapevine Wellness Show. If you found it helpful, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. If you're struggling with trauma or grief, anxiety, depression, or if your relationship is struggling, maybe along with some of those things, I want you to know that there is a path forward and you don't have to walk it alone. Visit grapevineinnerwellness.com to learn more about the work that I do and how we can work together. And I'll see you next time.